In this video, we will talk about vector. Vector is nothing but a dynamic array. In array, before declaring, at the time of declaring the array, we also declare the size of the array as well. But in the case of vector, the size can be vary. So it is also known as the dynamic array. And in the C++ coding, we generally use vector because we can do all the things with the vector as well, which we can do with the array, and the time complexity remains the same. For example, in the array, we retrieve an element with the by index, like we want to access the second element, then we can uh, access the second element by this in the array, as well as if we have a vector v, then we can also access element by index uh, in the case of vector also. Okay, so all the functionality of the array also apply in the vector as well, but we have additional advantage of by using vector that we uh, get a dynamic size of the array. So how we declare the vector? So we declare a vector by uh, writing a vector keyword, then in the angular bracket we specify what type of data type it is stored. For example, we want the vector of integer, then we will declare vector angular bracket open and then int, then we will close the angular bracket, then we will declare the variable name, for example v, and we can initialize by uh, declaring the number of integers here, like this. So it will automatically declare the vector of size 5 because we have specified the 5 element here. We can also, if we do not know the size uh, of the variable of the vector, then we can also declare the vector like this. Okay, initially it will create the empty vector with the 0 element. Okay, it will be the empty vector. Or if we want to declare the size of 10 integers, then we can also declare the vector of 10 integer as v, uh, and here it is rounded bracket. In the array it was square bracket, but in the vector it is round bracket. So we declare the number of elements we want, that is the size of the vector. If we also want to initialize all the 10 elements to be by some number, then we can initialize the vector by that number also. For example, if we want 10 element to be 1, so it will create the vector v of size 10 with the all element 1. Okay, we will see the all the operation which is apply on the vector in the when we code. Okay, we can also declare a vector of character. We can also declare vector of vector, which will be like the 2D array. Okay, so in this way we can declare the vector. So let's discuss the operation of the vectors. So first of all, we will declare a vector, vector of integer, and I am taking the variable v1 as a vector name, and I am initializing with 1 2 3 4 5 elements. Okay, so if we want to print all the element of the vector, we can simply apply the loop for int I is equals to 0 I v1 dot size. Its size is a function which return the size of the vector. In this case, the size of the vector will be 5 because v1 contains the 5 element. So we can simply access the vector by index v1 I. So it will print the vector. Okay, so we can see a vector is printed. Okay, let's say we want to declare a second vector using vector v1. So we can declare vector int v2 by v1 dot begin on v1 dot end. v1 dot begin uh, return the iterator. v1 dot begin return the iterator to the beginning of the vector, and v1 dot end also return the iterator, uh, and v1 dot end return the iterator of the element next to the last element of the vector. For example, if the last element of the vector v1 is 5, so the next element uh, uh, v1 dot end will return the iterator to the next element of 5. Okay, so in this way we can declare the another vector through using vector v1, and we can also print this vector also. Simply v2 and I. Okay, so you can see v2 array v2 vector is printed, and we can also declare v2 as, let's say we are declaring the vector v3 which should be the same as v1. So we can just pass the v1 here, and v3 will be exact copy of v1. So in this way v vector can also be created. Okay, and there is a one keyword. If let's say we do not want to specify the data type of the variables, then we can use a keyword auto. For example, we want to access the third element of the array, then we can say auto uh, third element is equals to v1 3. It will automatically specify third variable as a int data type. So we can print the third variable as, you can see the third element will be printed as 4. Okay, why I'm telling about the auto keyword? Because auto keyword is you will see the auto keyword is used manywhere. uh, in case of iterator also it can be used. For example, I have said that v1 dot begin return the iterator to the first element. So if we want the iterator of the first element, then we can directly uh, declare auto it state for iterator. We can declare any name. Okay, so if we uh, if we see out it, so uh, what would it return? Iterator is like a pointer which point to the uh, first element of the vector. So if we I have specify in the array video that if we use the asterisk operator, then it re-reference the value to that address. If we use the asterisk sign before the iterator variable, then we can print the first element, because iterator is pointing to v1 dot begin, the first element of the array, and we can see that first element is printed as 1. Okay, we can also use auto keyword in for loop, like uh, int lm stand for element, v3, and we can simply print element. Okay, the in this way we can also use the auto keyword here. Instead of auto, if we know that that v3 contains the integer data type value, so we can also use int here also. It's your wish whether you want to use auto or data type. Okay, and how the iterator is specified? Iterator is specified, uh, either you can use auto it is equals to v3 dot begin, so it will automatically specify the data type. We do not need to declare the data type, we just simply write auto and it will automatically uh, declare the auto um, data type of iterator. Okay, if we want to see the how the iterator is specified, so we write it as iterator is of type vector of integer, and we specify iterator and iterator variable. So in this we can specify the iterator variable. Okay, and both the value will be both variable will print the same value. If we see out asterisk it and asterisk it2, then it will print the same value. See, 1 and 1. Okay, and I have also told that you can declare the vector, let's say v4. If you want to declare the vector of 5 element and all the element to be initialized with 10, so we can declare this way, and we can print the element of v4 as this. So 10 will be printed 5 times. Okay, so in this way we can declare the 5 element which is initialized to 10. Now let's discuss the functions defined in vector. So first is add add function. So if we want to print or access some value at some index, so we can use the add function. For example, want the if we want to access third element of the vector v2, so we can simplify v2 dot add third element, and so we can see third element will be 4, so 4 will be printed. We can also access the third element using indexing, like we use in array, so this is also fine, but the vector has a function, so I told you. Yeah, okay, and the second function is back back function, which return the last element of the vector. If we see out v2 dot back, so last element of the vector v2 is 5, so 5 will be printed. Okay, see 5 will be printed. Um, Similarly, we have front keyword, front function, which return the front element or the first element of the vector. First element of the vector v2 is 1, so 1 will be printed. So 1 will be printed. Last element is 5 and first element is 1. Okay, and the next function is size. So we can find the size of the vector by using the size function. For example, size of v1 is 5. So we can find the size of v1 and it will be 5. Okay. We can also find out whether a vector is empty or not using empty function. So it returns true when the vector is empty, otherwise it will return false. So as we know in C++, uh, false means a 0 and true means 1. So when we will see out whether v1 is empty or not, so we know that v1 is not empty because it contains the 5 element, so it should return 0. Okay, so it will return 0 because false, it is not empty. Okay, so empty keyword returns true when vector is empty, otherwise otherwise return false. Okay, we can or what we can do in the vector is we can push the new element in the vector. Let's say vector v1 contains the 5 element and the size of v1 is 5. Size of v1 is 5. Okay, now let's push a new element. We want to insert the new element to it. So push function is like this. It is called pushback function. So we want to push in v1, so v1 dot pushback and we want to push the 6. Okay, now we will print again the size of v1. So what should be the size of v1 now? Let's see. See, before pushing it was 5, but when we inserted the 6 at the last, so the size of the v1 becomes 6. Okay, and let's say we want to push another element, push 7 and again push 8. Then let's say what would be the size. It becomes 8 because initially it was 5, it contains the 5 element and we inserted the 3 more elements, so it becomes 5. Okay, let's say we push another element, uh, we push the 9 also, so it contains 9 element now. Okay, similarly we can pop also if we insert the element at last, and these elements will be pushed at last. If initially the vector contains 1 2 3 4 5, when we push the 6, then 6 will be after 5, then 7, then 8, then 9. Okay, so element will be pushed at last only. And similarly we have function of pop back. So what it do is it simply delete an element from the end. If we pop from V1, we say, and then after popping, we print size of the element, size of the vector V1. So what would be the size? Size of the V1 would be 8. Okay, because we deleted one element from its end. And one more thing is, if we do not push any element, okay, so till here the size of V1 was 5. Okay, so but we want to increase the size of the vector. So how would we increase the size? So we can resize the vector by using function resize. Initially size of the V1 was 10, but we want to resize it to 10. So we can simply V1 write V1 dot resize and size of the new vector. So simply if we will see out V1 dot size, then it will print 10, because we have resized the V1 to 10. Okay, but if we print, we have the element 1 2 3 4 5 only. But what would if we access the sixth element? Let's say we access V1 sixth element. So what would it will print? So if we access the sixth element, it is printing 0. Okay, nothing is there. Okay, it will initialize to 0. And let's say uh, we have variable, we have the elements like 1 2 3 4 5. Now we want to insert 10 after 3. We want to add 10 here. So how would we insert the 10 after 3 or between 3 and 4? So there is a function insert. We can insert any variable by using insert function. So we use insert function, v1 dot insert, and we will declare where we want to insert an element. So we will specify the iterator to that location. So v1 dot begin, it will point to first element. If we want after 3, the 3 was second element. So after, so we want to insert at third, and what we want to insert 10. So it will simply insert 10, and now we will access third element, then it will be simply 10. See, 10 is inserted now. 10 is inserted at the third location. Okay, and we have one more function which is erase function. So let's say now initially what is the size of the v1? Size of the v1 is 10, because we have resized 5 to 10. So it will print 10. Yes. Now let's say we erase the all the element, or we if we want to erase some specific value, let's say we have inserted here 10 at the third location, we want to delete it. So we will erase, and we will pass the iterator to the third location, that is 3. Okay, now we will see out v1 3, so it should not print 10. It is printing 10. Okay, I have commented out. Okay, now it should not print 10 because we have erased. We have erased. So now it is printing 4 because we inserted the 10 after 3. So it becomes 1, 2, 3, 10, 4, 5. Now we deleted it. So it becomes again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. At third location 4 is present. So that is why it is printing 4a. Let's say we want to clear the vector. We want to delete all the elements. So we have the function clear. We have the function clear. Initially the size of the v1 is 10, and now we are erasing all the elements. So we have function clear. Okay. Now we again printing v1 dot size. So it should simply print 0 because we have erased all the element. So yeah, initially the 11th 11 element was present because we have resized to 10, and then again we inserted new element 10. So 10 plus 1 11. So the size was the v1 was 11. Now we have clear all the element, then it becomes 0. Okay. So that's it. These are the functions which was declared in the vector, and in the C plus we generally use the vector instead of array. One more thing about the vector is when it how it is passed to the function. Let's say we have function sum, and it is taking the argument as in 10. I am doing the sum of all the elements of b1. Okay, so it will take some variable 0 and it will simply sum it all. Okay, and at last we'll simply return sum. Okay, so here I am calling the function sum, and I am passing v1, and size of the v1 is 5. Okay, and I am erasing it all. Okay, now it is returning the integer, so I am storing it on variable, and then we will see out ans. Okay, so it would print the sum of 1 to 5. Okay, 50. But as in the case of the array, when we were calling the function, so the address was passing to the function. But in case of vector, let's say we make changes to the array. We say array of 3 is 4, array of 3 is 10. Okay, but uh, here if we see out v1 of 4, v1 of 3, so that changes will not be reflected here. See, I have not. Let me use handle. So you can see it is still 4. Third element is still 4. But here we have change it to 10. But it is not reflected. It is not reflected to the original vector. So in the case of the vector, it local copy is passed. If we want to reflect the changes, then we simply use the handle here. Uh, we simply use the ampersand here. If we use the ampersand here, now it will be passed by reference. So if we make changes here to this array, these changes will be reflected to the V1 also. See, here we have changed the third element to the 10. So if we print the V1 third element of the V1, so third element of the V1 changes from 4 to 10. Okay, so it is a very important. If we want to pass the vector by reference, then we simply use the ampersand sign here, and that's it. Our task is done. Okay, so vector is very easy to use. Then the array, it also provides the many functionality as we discussed. Okay.